Welcome back to our channel, where we dive deep into the glamorous, cutthroat, and endlessly dramatic world of Los Angeles fashion. Today is a beautiful, crisp day to unpack the latest, most explosive developments that are currently shaking the very foundations of our favorite daytime drama. Grab your coffee and settle in, because the corporate and emotional landscape of this show has just been fundamentally rewritten. The halls of Forrester Creations have always been a battlefield, a beautifully polished arena where family loyalty and blinding ambition collide with devastating force. For weeks, the tension has been mounting to an unbearable crescendo, a suffocating pressure cooker fueled by hostile power grabs, bitter ultimatums, and generational resentments. We have watched Ridge Forrester, a man historically paralyzed by his own indecision when torn between the formidable women in his life, struggle to maintain a fragile, impossible peace. But the era of compromise has violently come to an end. In a move that has sent absolute shockwaves through the fashion industry and shattered the core of his own family, Ridge has finally made a definitive, earth-shattering choice. He has officially appointed Brooke Logan as the sole chief executive officer of Forrester Creations. This is no longer a shared throne. This is a total, unprecedented capitulation to Brooke's relentless ambition, effectively dethroning his own flesh and blood in the process. The sheer magnitude of this decision simply cannot be overstated. It is a seismic corporate shift that has instantly rewritten the hierarchy of the fashion empire, leaving a profound trail of emotional devastation in its wake. Steffy has spent her entire life idolizing her father, standing fiercely by his side through countless scandals, and acting as the uncompromising guardian of the Forrester legacy against what she has always perceived as toxic Logan infiltration. To stand in that office and watch Ridge hand the ultimate crown to Brooke, the woman Steffy considers her absolute number one enemy, the woman who has caused her family decades of torment, is a psychological blow that completely shatters her reality. The sting of this rejection burns deep into Steffy's soul, fueling a suffocating sense of abandonment. In that agonizing moment of realization, Steffy understands that her unwavering loyalty, her sharp business acumen, and her direct bloodline were simply not enough to secure her father's allegiance. The confrontation that follows this decree is nothing short of legendary, a masterclass in daytime drama destined to be etched into the permanent annals of Forrester history. The tension in the executive office is thick enough to cut with a knife as Steffy processes the cold, hard reality of Ridge's decree. She refuses to shed a single tear in front of her rival, masking her profound, bleeding heartbreak with a shield of blinding, righteous fury. The very idea of reporting to Brooke Logan, of seeking approval from the woman who has systematically dismantled her mother's happiness over the years, is fundamentally abhorrent to Steffy. It is a line she will never, under any circumstances, allow herself to cross. In a breathtaking display of defiance and shattered pride, Steffy makes a move that will echo through the company for years to come. She reaches for her Forrester Creations Employee Identification Badge, the physical symbol of her birthright, her relentless hard work, and her identity, and slams it down onto the polished mahogany desk. That single, resounding slam echoes through the silent room like a gunshot, signaling the definitive, tragic end of an era. Steffy's declaration is swift, sharp, and uncompromising. She is leaving Forrester Creations immediately. There will be no awkward transition period, no graceful exit strategy, no hollow corporate pleasantries exchanged for the sake of the press. She is severing her ties with the company that bears her own name, refusing to be reduced to a subordinate pawn in Brooke's newly acquired, ill-gotten kingdom. The imagery of that discarded badge lying on the desk is a powerful, haunting testament to Steffy's unyielding boundaries. She is actively choosing her dignity over her title, her mental sanity over a toxic corporate battlefield that has finally demanded too high a price. It is a devastatingly poignant moment that underscores the catastrophic human cost of Ridge's professional decision. In the immediate aftermath of this explosive resignation, Steffi makes a desperate, self-preserving choice for the sake of her own survival and the well-being of her family. She knows she cannot remain in Los Angeles, a city that is now suffocating beneath the heavy, triumphant weight of Brooke's absolute victory. The air in California has become too toxic, the memories too painful, and the daily, unavoidable reminders of her father's ultimate betrayal too agonizing to endure. Seeking a desperate reprieve from the relentless psychological warfare that has consumed her life, Steffi decides to pack her bags and take her children far away across the Atlantic. She is moving to Paris. Paris represents more than just a geographical relocation. It is a necessary sanctuary, an elegant escape where she can breathe, heal, and distance herself from the smoldering wreckage of her family dynamic. It is a self-imposed exile, a desperate quest for peace in a world that has suddenly turned completely hostile and unrecognizable. The romantic, rain-swept streets of Paris offer a stark, healing contrast to the glaring, unforgiving sun of Los Angeles, providing Steffi with the space she needs to mourn the loss of her career and the fracture of her relationship with her father. Back in Los Angeles, Steffi's sudden, dramatic departure leaves behind a massive, gaping power vacuum at the very heart of Forrester Creations. Steffi was never just a figurehead or a nepotism hire. She was the driving force, the iron will, and the fiercely protective guardian of the brand's modern identity. Her sudden absence creates an immediate, palpable void that reverberates through every single hallway, every bustling design room, and every tense board meeting. The employees, who had grown accustomed to Steffi's decisive, passionate, and fiercely protective leadership, are left reeling in a state of profound uncertainty. The company's structure has been effectively decapitated overnight, and the resulting instability threatens to derail upcoming couture collections and shatter the confidence of their most vital global investors. For Ridge Forrester, the reality of his actions begins to set in with a crushing, suffocating weight that he is entirely unprepared to carry. The initial adrenaline of finally making a definitive choice quickly evaporates, replaced by a deep, dark descent into profound depression and agonizing regret. He sits alone in his office, staring at the empty chair where his vibrant daughter used to sit, his eyes constantly drawn to the discarded badge still resting exactly where she slammed it on the desk. The sheer magnitude of his betrayal slowly consumes him, eating away at his conscience. Ridge realizes, perhaps far too late, that in his desperate, misguided attempt to appease his wife's ambition and in the incessant infighting, he has entirely alienated his own child. He has driven his daughter across the ocean, fracturing their bond in a way that may be entirely irreparable. Ridge's internal conflict is a masterclass in tragic irony. He genuinely believed that appointing Brooke would bring a lasting peace to his marriage and a unified clarity to the company's leadership. But instead, it has unleashed a tidal wave of sorrow that threatens to drown him. He is haunted by the look of absolute, unadulterated devastation in Steffi's eyes right before she turned her back on him and walked out the door. The silence in the executive suite is deafening, a constant, mocking reminder of the fiercely passionate daughter he carelessly cast aside. Ridge is left to wander the hallowed halls of his fashion empire as a hollow shell of a man, paralyzed by the horrific realization that his professional decree has resulted in the ultimate personal catastrophe. He traded his daughter's loyalty for his wife's ego, and the transaction has left him spiritually bankrupt. Meanwhile, Brooke Logan sits upon her newly acquired throne, officially the sole chief executive officer of Forrester Creations. On paper, it is the ultimate, undeniable victory, the glorious culmination of a decades-long ambition to be recognized, not just as a beautiful muse or a scandalous distraction, but as a formidable, respected corporate titan. She has finally vanquished her greatest, most stubborn rival and secured the absolute power she has always believed she deserved. However, the reality of sitting at the top of the mountain is far more complex, daunting, and isolating than Brooke ever anticipated. The crown she fought so ruthlessly to wear is incredibly heavy, and the CEO throne is uncomfortably cold. Brooke quickly realizes that securing the title was only half the battle. Ruling a kingdom that fundamentally resents your presence is an entirely different, far more exhausting war. Brooke's ascension is met with a chilling, undeniable resistance from the Forrester family and the deeply entrenched loyalists within the company. She may have the official title on the door, but she desperately lacks the crucial, underlying support of the very people who built the empire from the ground up. The Forrester name carries historical weight, legacy, and a deep-seated loyalty that Brooke, despite her long and intertwined history with the company, simply cannot command in the same organic way Steffy did. Every directive Brooke issues is met with subtle defiance. Every strategic move she attempts to implement is scrutinized through a harsh lens of suspicion and resentment. Brooke is forced to navigate a treacherous labyrinth of passive-aggressive corporate sabotage and silent rebellion, realizing with growing dread that corporate power without familial respect is a hollow, fragile construct that can collapse at any moment. A new, insidious psychological war begins to unfold within the glass walls of the building, one that transcends physical boundaries and geographical distance. Steffy may be thousands of miles away, finding her peace in Paris, but her presence in the building is arguably more potent and oppressive than ever before. Steffy's ghost haunts every single decision Brooke makes, serving as a constant, invisible benchmark against which the new CEO is harshly measured. Whenever Brooke attempts to pivot the company's creative direction or alter a marketing strategy, she is met with the inevitable, infuriating whisper from the staff. Steffy wouldn't have done it this way. The physical absence of her rival has not brought Brooke the triumphant peace she craved. Instead, it has immortalized Steffy as the martyred, rightful heir, casting a long, impenetrable shadow over Brooke's every triumph and magnifying every minor misstep. Brooke finds herself locked in an exhausting battle against an enemy she cannot see, fighting a legacy she cannot possibly erase. The psychological toll of this invisible war begins to chip away at her initial confidence and bravado. She is forced to confront the deeply uncomfortable truth that her ultimate victory was achieved at the direct cost of her husband's happiness and the foundational stability of the company she claims to love and protect. The constant, gnawing need to prove herself, to validate Ridge's devastating choice to the world and to herself, becomes a relentless, exhausting burden that keeps her awake at night. Brooke is sitting at the absolute apex of the global fashion world, yet she has never felt more isolated, surrounded by a corporate court that is secretly, fervently praying for the return of their exiled queen. This dramatic paradigm shift also ripples outward with destructive force, affecting every other character caught in the crossfire of this dynastic struggle. Hope Logan, who violently and relentlessly pushed her mother to launch this hostile takeover, must now grapple with the monumental, unintended fallout of her radicalized ambition. While Hope may have temporarily secured the future of her own fashion line, she must witness the profound, debilitating depression consuming Ridge and the terrifying, cold isolation enveloping her mother. Hope's desire for corporate vindication has inadvertently triggered a nuclear explosion within the family dynamic, proving that the pursuit of revenge and power often comes with an unbearable human cost. The Logan victory is deeply tainted by the sheer magnitude of the emotional destruction left in its wake, leaving Hope to wonder if the price of her success was simply too high. Furthermore, the business landscape itself is violently destabilized by this internal civil war. With Steffy gone, the delicate, intricate balance of power that kept Forrester Creations competitive and innovative is utterly obliterated. The fashion industry watches with bated breath, like sharks circling bleeding prey, as Brooke attempts to steer a massive corporate ship that is actively resisting her command. The vulnerability of the company is palpable, opening the door wide for external threats, hostile takeovers, and internal coups. The fashion world is a notoriously unforgiving arena, and a distracted, deeply divided Forrester Creations is a prime target for rival design houses eager to capitalize on the chaos. Brooke's ability to lead under this immense, suffocating pressure will be the ultimate, defining test of her character, her resilience, and her true competence as a businesswoman. The tragedy of this entire saga lies in the irrevocable, devastating damage inflicted upon the core relationships that define this beloved universe. Ridge's tragic inability to find a compromise, his fatal flaw of always needing to choose a side, has resulted in a zero-sum game where everyone ultimately loses something precious. Steffy has lost her professional home, her daily purpose, and her fundamental faith in her father's protection. Ridge has lost his beloved daughter, his grandchildren, and his own peace of mind, trading his joy for a CEO appointment he didn't even truly want. Brooke has gained the world and the ultimate title, but she has lost the familial harmony she desperately needs to truly enjoy her reign. The deep emotional scars left by this brutal transition of power will take years, if not decades, to heal, fundamentally altering the DNA and the future of both the Forrester and Logan families forever. As Steffy walks the romantic, melancholy streets of Paris, far removed from the glaring, toxic lights of Los Angeles, holding her children close and breathing in the foreign air, one cannot help but wonder if this exile is truly permanent. Is she genuinely finding the lasting peace she so desperately seeks? Or is she silently, meticulously plotting her inevitable, triumphant return to the throne that is rightfully hers? The vast distance may heal her immediate, bleeding wounds, but the fierce, unyielding fire of a Forrester is not easily extinguished by a change of scenery. Paris may offer a beautiful, temporary sanctuary, but the empire she left behind will always call to her blood. The psychological war between her and Brooke is far from over. It has merely entered a new, dangerously cold phase, a tense standoff waiting for the inevitable spark that will ignite the next great conflict. In the end, Ridge's fateful decision to appoint Brooke as the sole CEO will undoubtedly go down as one of the most controversial, destructive, and monumental moves in the long, storied history of Forrester Creations. It is a powerful testament to the blinding, irrational power of love, the intoxicating lure of ambition, and the devastating consequences of choosing sides in a family defined by generational warfare. As Brooke struggles daily to maintain her slipping grip on a fractured, resentful empire, and as Ridge slowly drowns in an endless ocean of regret, the true, terrifying cost of absolute power is laid bare for all to see. Forrester Creations stands at a terrifying crossroads, its future hanging precariously in the balance, forever changed by the unforgettable day Steffy Forrester Finnegan threw